Hello and welcome to KJ and Caldwell. My name is Kristian Jack and you are?
I'm Steven Caldwell.
You are Steven Caldwell. Good evening. It is Sunday night. Stevie, it's been an action-packed weekend across all the leagues. We have to start, though, in Major League Soccer. You and I did Toronto FC this evening at BMO Field for TSN. And MLS Decision Day is in the books. It is exactly the way they want to, when they plan it. They're getting a lot of drama going on. And who knew? Toronto FC have found a way to find home field advantage over the next 20 to 25 minutes. By the way, we're going to go over all things Major League Soccer. Later in the show, we're going to dissect some things in the Premier League. And boy, oh boy, is there enough things to talk about in the Premier League right now. I think Mr. Pochettino might get a mention, as well as Liverpool, as well as they continued their perfect record. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I have got a little bit of a quiz for you later on. And
nice. I love a good quiz.
And it's involving you, Stevie, and you don't even know. You have no idea what's coming next. But I'll surprise you.
I'm nervous.
Don't need to be nervous, man. I always take care of you. But let's get into MLS Decision Day itself. As I said, we'll go around the league. We'll look at the matchups as they're coming out. Schedule's probably be coming out any minute as well.
Yeah.
But let's start where we were. We were at BMO Field. Toronto FC went into MLS Decision Day 6th place in the Eastern Conference, despite having a 9-game unbeaten run in Major League Soccer. And they come out of it with a 10-game unbeaten run. They come out of it with Alejandro Pozuelo scoring a direct free kick for his 12th goal of the season. And more importantly, they come out of it with home field advantage in the first round. What a present for TFC after DC United couldn't beat 9 men FC Cincinnati for 45 minutes. Remarkable stuff.
Remarkable. A huge shock. I'm very surprised, KJ. I expected DC to beat Cincinnati. When I saw them go down to 9 men, I thought it was going to be 4 or 5. Obviously, we've not watched that game yet, but we caught the last few minutes, didn't we, as we went to bonus coverage from our game. And it looked like at that point they were throwing the kitchen sink at Cincinnati and they just couldn't get the breakthrough. So I don't know what happened there, but a big slip up by DC United. And I think it might come back to cost them, to be honest, because that was really poor from then. And also Red Bulls losing at Montreal Impact. So I'm shocked TFC were in 4th. I don't think they played their best today, but again I thought they were pretty solid. Gonzalez for me was a pick of the bunch, just colossal back there. I think I said on the broadcast, got his head to every single ball and was in the right place at the right time. Just an appetite and a willingness to defend, which I think is somewhat lost in the modern game. And it was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun to watch. I think, look, when we analyse this, you talk about DC, you talk about Red Bulls, TFC, there's not a lot, is there? There's not a lot between these teams. 34 games have said that. Now we're going into a brand new competition where some teams will win and some teams will go home early. And then there will be this theory that this team is better than this team because they beat them. And look, that's when the lights are brighter and we're going to find out about these teams. But, in a low-scoring sport, when some acts of randomness sometimes can go one way or the other on a bad decision here or there, or maybe even a penalty kick or a shootout here or there. Yep. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Toronto FC. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I think it's clear there's not a lot between these teams. And, in the end, Toronto FC gets to finish 4th and play Wayne Rooney and DC United. And a quick word about Wayne Rooney, who was suspended today. We know that this is the final campaign for Wayne Rooney. Toronto FC ended Frank Lampard's Major League Soccer career, didn't they? I'm sure they'll be hoping to do the same. But look, I think it'll be a tight game. I think anybody who goes into these games thinking that it's going to be a blowout just hasn't been watching much of Major League Soccer this year. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair, especially this matchup with DC United and TFC. They've had a 0-0 draw at BMO Field. Nothing was happening in that game. And then I think they had a game during the Gold Cup that were you covering it? I certainly wasn't calling it, but
we were in studio. We were doing Canada, and it was at the same time, wasn't it? That was the game where Toronto FC looked like they were finally going to get a 1-0 win.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, today's 1-0 victory was their first since 2017 in Major League Soccer.
Remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. And then Rooney got the last-minute goal, didn't he?
Yeah. And they were a changed side, TFC. I think Liam Fraser played centre defence that day. They did really well, but nothing between the teams. Very tight, and I expect the same. And I think they're two teams that are best when they're difficult to beat. They're pretty solid. You think of some of the attacking flair, you think they're going to be, free-flowing teams, but I don't think they are. I think they're some of the more pragmatic teams in the Eastern Conference. So tight game for me. If we get an early goal, would it open up? Possibly, but I just see it being tense. Playoff, maybe a little bit cold, and maybe the odd goal deciding it. KJ, it's going to be a really close one for me, and I make the home side favourites just because they're at home and they've sort of been there before, and I think that they'll be just slight favourites.
Well, they would be delighted. I was on the field. What happened was on the game ended, Toronto FC's game ended around about 2.5 minutes prior to the DC ending. I think they went to about 98 minutes or 97 minutes in their game. And I was on the field and getting ready to do interviews, and I was not going to do an interview until they knew who they were playing. So I had the game on in my ear, and Michael Bradley basically standing right next to me, Greg Vanny standing next to me, a few other people have got their phones with updates, and then I gave them the news that they were done. And, usually at that point, I'm always conscious of me stepping into somebody else's environment. As I said to you before, a highly competitive environment where, they have been completely focused to get the job done. Yeah. And to be honest, I kind of expected a little bit of an emotion, but this was a real show of intent. They were absolutely thrilled. They were thrilled that they've got that home field advantage. You could see it in their faces. You could see it in their words, interviewing Greg Vanny afterwards. Alejandro Pozuelo said the same thing to me as well. You could see their heart rate got up a little bit. And I think that, look, of course, being at home in MLS is a big advantage anyway. The stats are there to prove it. In Major League Soccer regular season, it's almost a 0.8 point advantage, way over a lot of other European leagues. The stats are there to prove it in MLS playoffs. You play at home in a one-game playoff, more than 60% of the time you're going to win the game. That's what history tells us. But more importantly for this group, I think, Stephen, before we move on to some other MLS teams, that they said after the game, they're saying pretty much this, they've had so many over the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years now, reference points of success in big games inside that building that, look, some people are there are new, but many of them are still not, that I think that will carry them in their own minds, at least, before they kick a ball.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that the familiarity of BMO Field will be really critical for TFC. I know they've went away from home, they've had some big performances, they've won trophies, but I think that this first game at BMO Field is crucially important. I think they'll fancy themselves at home against anybody. We talked about that in the few hits that we did for SportsCentre leading up to this game. And now they're at home and they're playing against a side who have been so-so for a few weeks and couldn't beat nine-man Cincinnati. I think they'll be extremely confident and ready. And if they win that first game, then momentum starts rolling. Every team that wins their game is going to start thinking, okay, maybe our name's on the cut. The confidence just soars at that point. TFC will be very confident if they turn over DC. Now, I've said all the positives, and that brings pressure, brings a certain sense of anxiety. I think the pressure's off DC United. I think they've got more to gain from this game coming up. I think TFC are under some serious pressure with this match, and everyone will have them going through and have them playing against the next team and starting to go 2-3 steps ahead. And I think that might be the Achilles heel for TFC. They have to stay focused, pick a game plan that's going to beat DC, and stay right on path, right on track with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. At the end of the day, somebody like Benny Olsen's going to come in and going to be defensive anyway. They're defensive in the regular season. They struggle for goals. They've got to get Acosta going. He hasn't been the same player since he was linked with PSG. Yeah. And he's had a very difficult year. Obviously, Rooney as well. Stop-start year with suspensions. And obviously, maybe he has got one eye on Derby County. Who knows? But, final word on this. How are you feeling towards the one-game playoff? Are you open to see how it goes? Are you adamant that you would have preferred 2 games? Because I really like the 2 games. I think we could really sink our teeth into this if we felt like they were coming up over 2 legs. It would be a proper good tie. I think for me, it's not just about getting the best team through. It's about the drama that builds through it. I'm concerned, and this is an overall concern in Major League Soccer, that these games are going to turn out to be extremely tense. And we're going to have 1-0, 0-0, decided on penalties. And I wouldn't blame the teams for playing that way.
Yeah.
If you and I were working right now on a team and we're setting up to beat this team, the first thing you do is, right, lads, we're not going to concede tonight. We're not going to concede, and we think we can beat them. And you play for the run of the green, and I just think that I'm a little worried about that. For me, that they've gone away from that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that there's a real concern that there could be stalemates and teams could play very defensive, not throwing too many bodies forward, just sort of playing to stay in the game rather than to go win the game. Although, one thing I will say, I want to give it a chance. I want to stay open-minded. I want to be positive about it, because one main reason is I want a better MLS regular season. I want a better MLS. And I think that something needs to be done from the previous format to try and get us to a better MLS regular season, where teams are really focusing on every single game, the way that TFC did in 17 and Atlanta did in 18 and LAFC did in 19. You know, we're getting one or two teams. I want to see 6, 7, 8, 10, everybody treat it with that same respect, play their best teams when they can, and sort of go, well, this doesn't matter in June or July. I think, well, yeah, it does actually, because come the end, if the home team sort of prevail through this one-game series heading towards MLS Cup, then I think that it will put more credence, more importance on regular season. So I've got an open mind, KJ. We could be sitting here in, 3-4 weeks, mid-November, saying, well, that didn't work. That was a disaster. But something had to be done. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I agree. But, ultimately I do fear that upsets will happen. And I'm not quite sure. I think you and I probably need to. Well, I'll write it in right now in permanent ink for a show in December, where you and I will sit and pick the bones out of Major League Soccer.
That'll be good.
Better. We don't have time to get into that right now. But at the end of the day, when you think about the way it's finished, Major League Soccer, Western Conference, Seattle second in the West on 56, Dallas 7th on 48. That's 8 points. I mean, talk about parity. Atlanta 58, New England 45, but Red Bulls 48. 10 points between second and sixth. So, interesting to see how this dynamic goes in Major League Soccer with the playoffs, for example. Finishing sixth might be better than finishing fifth, because you could still play at home. You can't really do that if you finish fifth. Because if DC win against TFC, they know they're going to be playing. I was going to say Yankee Stadium there for a second, but it might not be Yankee Stadium.
It could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. Most likely, knowing a little bit of baseball that I know and knowing what the NYCFC have released, this is obviously very important now if TFC fans are listening, but also DC United fans as well, that if it goes, and I'm talking about the Yankees now, who are basically just destroying the Minnesota Twins right now, bullying them. So they're making the American League Central, they're making the ALCS. And so if they get to the ALCS like they get to the Astros, and they go beyond 5 games, the 5th game is on the 17th of October. If they go beyond 5 games, and I know the Astros are good, so they could get beaten 5, then it will be played at Citi Field. Right, home of the New York Mets that game, whoever they play in the next round, TFC or against DC United. So let's see. Let's talk about the East while we're on it. Atlanta United obviously got the job done. They finished second and they play New England too. They played in the final game, ironically as well. New England have had a good season, but I think you and I would expect Atlanta to come through that game. Although, as we said, in all of these games, anything can happen. But the trophy starts with Atlanta. You got to wrestle it off them.
Yeah, you have to wrestle it off them, and I think that might be pretty tough. I really do, because there's a lot of things to like about that team. They had the sticky start under Frank de Boer, but they've got it going now. I keep referencing the fact, I'm getting a bit of stick for this, but they've won 2 trophies this year. They won the US Open Cup, which is the national cup competition for the US, and they've also won the Campeones Cup, which people go crazy about. But for me, when you beat a top Liga MX side in a very entertaining game, I think they beat Club America 3-2, didn't they?
It's a great game.
Spain.
You can't get stick. Who's giving you stick for that?
I'm getting stick for it. Fans are saying, who cares about I think it's TFC, better TFC fans saying, who cares about Campeones Cup, because they got spanked off Tigres a few years ago.
Yeah, emphasis on the word spanked. Yeah.
But when you're winning trophies and you're getting used to it, and you're winning most of the trophies in your stadium,
yes,
which is a magnificent venue. The crowd are behind them. It's a very hostile environment to go into. I think it's very ominous for the rest. You get that feeling. We talked about TFC's big game experience and feeling like, oh, we're at Beam of Fail, we're very confident here. Well, Atlanta feel the same thing because they have reference points. They picked up trophies in that Mercedes-Benz Stadium in front of 63,000 people, and they're the team to beat. And NYC are a fantastic side, but I'm sorry, Atlanta United, in my opinion, are still the team to beat in the East.
Okay, I'm with you. And then see if you agree with this. Atlanta United are in their side of the bracket, which is already annoying me saying bracket. Sorry. I don't know. I just, this non-reseeding, I'm sorry. It's just,
it's crazy.
It's utterly ludicrous.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, because let's just play this out for a second. If New England beat Atlanta and the Red Bulls beat Philly, 6 plays 7 in the next round.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
So, I mean, so New York City FC could win the conference and then could want to play New England. And like, no, sorry, you can't play him. You've got to play TFC because it's just been reseeded. Anyway, my point being, Atlanta are on a bracket side with New England, the Red Bulls, and Philly. I think they might be happy with that, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. They'll have respect for every opponent, and there is a lot of parity in MLS, but that's pretty comfortable. I mean, I was shocked with Red Bull's defeat today against Montreal. I know Montreal can be slick when they're getting it going, but that's still a poor result heading into the playoffs. Away in Montreal to lose so heavily. New England, I fancy Atlanta have the number. I think when you focus on who's playing who, and at this point, everyone in the playoffs is thinking, right, okay, let's focus on our job.
Right.
What are we good at? How do we get the best results? So I'm sort of the mindset, well, you just kind of worry about yourself at this point. There's a couple of places you maybe think don't really want to go, but as a player, your mindset is just, what are we good at? How do we play our game plan wherever we may be, whether it's home or away, Philly, Atlanta, New York City. And I think most teams will have that mindset. But the reality is you get into Mercedes-Benz Stadium and you're up against it, and you've got Nagby pulling the strings, you've got Martinez and PT and the guys going along, Gressel, one of my favourite players in MLS, and the crowd are behind them. It's going to be a tough place to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. The last game in the East, Philadelphia versus the Red Bulls, not many people are giving Philadelphia really any respect this year.
No.
You and I have watched them a lot. We think
they deserve it.
They're a really good side. They did lose today, albeit 2-1 to New York City FC, the visitors who were up 2-0. Marco Fabian got a penalty. I think it's the third time they've lost all season at home. They lost to Toronto FC, first game of the season. They lost to Portland in May, and they lose to New York City FC. So it's just the third time. I spoke at length to Jim Curtin at the start of the season, and again when he came to Toronto. This was what their mandate was: home playoff day. First time they're going to play at home in the playoffs. They will not settle for that. It will be a full house. And a lot of people will fancy the Red Bulls to go there just because of the name and the playoff experience. But Philadelphia have got something going, mate. They're a good team. Montero's brought a lot of legs to them. Shabalko gets the goals as well. Obviously, Bedoya brings a lot of quality. I like the young players at the back. McKenzie, Trusty. They've got some class acts there. So that'll be a game I think Philadelphia can win. I agree. I really do.
I think they will win, KG. I'm very, very confident. I'm confident they'll win that. I think they'll beat the Red Bulls. I think they're ready for this home game, and Montero's been magnificent. I agree with you. Shabalko, there's been an Rumpy Cole, brings them a bit of pace. I think they're a good side. I think they're balanced, and I think they'll fancy the Red Bulls, especially at home. I think the Red Bulls are vulnerable this year. We saw them a couple of times live, and we've obviously been following them, and I think they're a bit less consistent than they've been in previous years. I think, when they're good, they're still pretty good, and you see that Red Bull identity, but when they're off this year, they're really pretty average, and I've got a feeling that Philly will be rocking that night or day whenever the game comes around, when the schedule's released, and I think they'll win. I think they'll beat the Red Bulls.
That is the matchups for the Eastern Conference, the round one, and the Western Conference round one is as follows. LAFC won, obviously. What about Carlos Vela, by the way? A quick word for Carlos Vela.
Watch his hat trick.
It's just utterly remarkable. I'm watching it, And sometimes I watch it with a smile, and sometimes I watch it with a grimace. It's the same when Zlatan scores. I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes I think that their dominance in Major League Soccer is amazing. And sometimes I think it's not great for Major League Soccer. Do you know what I'm going? Do you know where I'm going on this?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Like, it just...
you're cringing a little bit. You want someone to maybe defend them properly now.
Well, come on. I mean, it was like, he's put up video game numbers, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, 34 goals. Like, it's just...
The first goal's exceptional, but you're wondering why the defender is standing off. Carlos Vela just get it onto his left foot and open up like he's going to hit that curler that he's done maybe 20 of the 30, whatever, 33, 34 goals did he get in the end, So, I'm with you. I
don't want to be negative. I don't want to be negative.
No.
We love the sport.
We love the sport. We have to appreciate that what this guy's done. He's playing a brilliant team, but they do a great job of isolating him into areas where he's proven unstoppable. Nobody can defend him. But I think maybe the evolution of MLS as it starts to get better and better is that knowledge, that defensive ability as well, because it sometimes looks a bit too easy for him. And I go back to that first goal. People look at it and go, brilliant goal, 25 yards, curls it, top corner. I'm wondering why the defender's letting him hit it with his left foot. Make him drag it past you, go on his right foot, and let's see if he can put it in the top corner from 20 yards. But, you know, the last thing you want to let Carlos Vela do is open up his body and curl it. You know he's going to hit the target. It's crazy.
You and I have a lot of time for Minnesota United. We've watched them a lot this season. And I think actually on one of the previous shows we've done for television, we were really early on their bandwagon.
We were.
Really good team. Obviously didn't go well for them on the last day of the regular season. So they've been pitted with the smaller team in LA called the Galaxy with this player called Zlatan. And by the way, the winner of that game plays LAFC.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon MLS wants?
Well, I wonder. I think they probably want an LA matchup, don't they?
Maybe. I think we'd all like that, let's be honest. But Minnesota, first playoff game at home. Obviously, Allianz Field, a great place to go for them. Great chance to play at home against the Galaxy. What's a chance? You know, the Galaxy are not that good, mate. Defensively, again, saw it today with Houston. By the way, shout out to DeMarcus Beasley, who finished his wonderful career getting taken off at the 88th minute.
Fantastic.
And that's the matchup for me. It's Minnesota versus LA Galaxy. It's the biggest matchup in the first round because we know what is waiting at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really want to see the two LA teams play against each other, and I hate saying that because, you know, I've got a lot of time for Adrian Heath, Mark Watson, the coaching staff there at Minnesota. I think they've done a great job. A part of me, with Zlatan's comments and the way the Galaxy have went about this season, would also like to see them get turned over by Minnesota because I think they've been a bit arrogant, and I think they've sort of took the foot off the gas. It'll be fine when we come to the big games and we're in the playoffs. And so, you know, I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't be have a smile on my face if I saw Minnesota turn them over. But, you know, as Zlatan gets on that big stage and you get Pavon pouring along, and you just think that it's set up for the Galaxy to play LAFC, and what a match that's going to be. So we'll keep an eye on that one, KJ. But two good teams. I love the West this year. I think it's extremely strong.
Yeah, I agree. RSL against Portland. RSL got a home game and they needed that with the victory they secured that with the victory over the Vancouver Whitecaps on decision day. Portland get in after winning that playoff game to get in the playoffs against San Jose Earthquakes. And who knew that San Jose Earthquakes a few weeks ago would have not made the playoffs under Matias Almeida? Just played such a unique football. And it now looks like the Almeida Earthquakes relationship will be over after 1 year if all rumors are coming to be true out of Northern California. And elsewhere, the winners of RSL against Portland will play the winners of Seattle Sounders versus FC Dallas. And I'm going to go out and say my pick for MLS Cup from the West, Seattle Sounders. I think that they've got a great draw. I like them a lot. I think if they can keep fit and healthy, I think MLS Cup might go through Seattle this year, my friend.
You know what? intrigued by that game, and I love Seattle. They're strong. They're mentally prepared. They've got some great players, powerful, quick. There's many things to like about that team, but we talked about pressure in the playoffs, and we've got a team in Dallas. We've never even spoke about them. They've got young guys. They've sort of just been in the edge of the periphery for the entire season, and then they just kind of jump into playoffs in seventh. They won 6-0 today, by the way, against Sporting Kansas City to secure that place.
Yeah.
They've got young players. They've got Ferreira. They've got Paul McCall. Exciting to watch, and have nothing to lose. In Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle have got everything to lose. And I'm just wondering, and I'm not saying for a second they're going to go beat them, but
they could though.
I'm telling
MLS
you, it's MLS. It's MLS, and Dallas are the team that everybody's just disregarding. I think maybe New England come second, but more than everybody else, everybody's just no way. And they've always struggled in the playoffs. And I'm just wondering if with that young crop of players, they come up with a sensational performance in Seattle, and then all of a sudden, again, momentum starts rolling, and who knows, with a bunch of kids who don't feel anything, they're just playing free.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, Seattle, even on the runs to MLS Cup finals in the past, that was really close games,
Yeah.
penalty kicks and all sorts of stuff to get through. So, look, you need a lot of breaks. There's no question about that. And the schedule will be out very soon upon that. Maybe we'll do another podcast before the next round, and we'll preview that. If you do want that, let us know, please. Subscribe all on your platforms. Please let us know and let everyone know what you think of this. Please send in some questions. We'd love to get your questions as well. And remember, this is now the new platform where we'll be talking every single week about all things football. Okay, before we take a break and before we get to the Premier League on the other side, I got a little quiz for you today. And this is going to be called Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap of Steven Caldwell's career. Mind the Gap of Steven Caldwell's career. Basically, all it is you just basically have to fill the gap. And it's how do I get from Steven Caldwell to Roman Pavlyuchenko? Simple as that. All you need is two players. Who did Steven play with, and who did that player play with to get to Roman Pavlyuchenko? Steven's already thinking about it. I'll be back on the other side. We'll be back on the other side to break down the Premier League and give you the answer to Mind the Gap. Hello, welcome back to the show for part two. We'll get to some Premier League action in a second, but just there in the break, you were saying that was a bit tough.
It was tough, mate.
It's tough?
Yeah, Pavlyuchenko.
Yeah. How do I get from Stevie to Pavlyuchenko? It's not that
got
difficult.
A quick story on Pavlyuchenko.
This is the name of the game. This is why we do it.
Okay, he rearranged my brother's teeth in one game. He just gave him a little bit of a sly elbow. So
really,
he's not a favourite in the Caldwell household. He saw Gaz come in. He was a bit sick of him kicking him, I think, for 60 minutes. And so he just brought the elbow up and rearranged his front teeth, his bottom teeth.
Well, there you go. That's what I presume this was this a Scotland-Russia game, or was this?
It was actually
Wigan Tottenham
Hotspur. Yeah.
Right, so there you go.
Okay, so I'm going to say, so it's two separations, is it?
So so all you need is who played with you as a teammate.
Yeah.
And then they played with a teammate of Pavlyuchenko. It's not that difficult. Mind the gap. We just got to find the two players. Do you want one player?
I think I think I've got an idea. One, I've got two guys in mind. I've got Jermaine Defoe.
Okay.
But that might be too direct. And I've got Andre Beakey in mind.
There you go. See, the great thing about this game is that there are actually different ways to get to the result, right? There's different routes. So Jermaine Defoe is a direct route.
Yeah.
Because you could just go from Caldwell to Defoe to Pavlyuchenko.
Too easy.
So you could have had that, but mine the gap is two players. And if you want, I can give you one now and then one later.
Give me one and I'll get the next one.
All right. So this is the thing about stories. So from Steven Caldwell to Brad Orr.
Okay.
Yeah.
My big mate, Bradley Orr.
Bradley Orr. From Steven Caldwell to Bradley Orr. And Bradley Orr played with somebody who played with Pavlyuchenko. So I'll let you think about that for a little bit.
David Bentley?
David Bentley's the winner.
Yes.
See? Right away. Got it right away. See? Didn't even need to wait long. So Mind the Gap winner this week, Steven Caldwell to Bradley Orr, your best mate, one of your best mates.
Yes.
David Bentley and Roman Pavlyuchenko. And these are supposed to spur stories. And my favourite Bradley Orr story is this. As I was doing sidelines once at Red Bull Arena in, I think it was a playoff game, but it might not have been. We've had some special nights there as broadcasters. I'm doing the sidelines for TFC. I think you're playing in the game.
Yeah. Wasn't a playoff game.
It wasn't.
No,
Oh, it was. No, it wasn't. Okay, it wasn't a playoff game. It was a league game. That's right. It was a warm night, and the Red Bulls used to have these two well-dressed gentlemen right behind the opposition's bench, and these guys went on to actually have bigger problems. So they actually were involved in the Josie Altidore spat during the playoff game, which is why I got confused. It was because I was there. It's the same guys who were abusing Altidore. So anyway, they were abusing the TFC bench the entire game. I think you guys might have lost 3-0. I think that one of the pictures that's been framed and put on the Red Bull tunnel of Bradley Wright Phillips just making you sit down in the box is there. We've got this number 13 Caldwell just sliding on his bum as Bradley Wright Phillips just looks down at him and scores another goal. But yeah, so anyway, during that game, they were on the TFC bench the entire time, these two loudmouth guys.
Really quite abusive.
Abusive, like borderline, like on a lot of difficult topics. Yeah. And by the time I think the second goal went in, or the third goal went in, like your mate, Brad, he'd had enough, mate. You know, he'd had enough. He wasn't even.
He doesn't suffer fools gladly, does he, Big Brad?
No. So at one point, the water bottle was being squirted, like Ty Domi style, squirted towards the fans. And then like they got really obnoxious, and then they were like really having a go at them and starting to get quite a little bit borderline, having a go at Canadians as well. So Bradley Orr was like proper serious. He was like right at the end of the game, like there was like security involved. Everyone's shaking hands on the field. Not Brad. Brad's like after these two. It's like, good night, mate. You two outside. I'm gonna get outside right now. See this skull. It's going through your head, mate. It's going through your head. And I'm just like loving it at the end. And he actually wanted to meet them outside, and I actually think he would have. And I think these two lads could have probably been. It probably could have taken both of them at the same time.
We could have a segment in this podcast where we tell a story about Bradley Orr every single episode.
I'll just make sure he's in Mind the Gap every week.
The man is unbelievable, and he would have taken them outside, and if they brought along maybe 5 or 6 friends also, Brad would have taken all 8 of them, because he's a tough man, Brad, and he was furious that night, and he couldn't wait to tell me the story. I come in dejected, I've just conceded 3 goals. And Brad can't wait to tell me this story, scooshing this water in this guy's face and having it with him. But
brilliant.
That's Brad. You don't mess with the lad. He's one of the most loyal friends you ever had. I love him. I had a great year with him. We started at Newcastle when we were kids.
That's right. 02, wasn't it? He was there,
Toronto for a year, so he's one of my best friends in football.
Love it, and I've had the pleasure of being around him as well. What a great guy, and we keep an eye on him and keep things going well for him. And obviously, as mad a passionate Liverpool fan as you can get.
He loves Liverpool games. He's an agent now, but I mean, he is at Liverpool whenever he can get there at Anfield.
And Liverpool are perfect at the moment in terms of points, not perfect in terms of performances, but who can be? 24 points out of 24 to top the English Premier League. The first team in the Premier League era to win all 8 games to start the league campaign. Only the first team since Liverpool of 1990-91. They're the only teams to do that. 8 out of 8. They get a last minute or 92nd minute penalty through another former mate of yours, James Miller, was able to smash it in. Nobody, by the way, on that penalty, and we're going to get to it in a second, but you know when you have a penalty and you've got like your players like surrounding the box getting ready to like run in for like in case it goes, no, only one player, Henderson, did it. Liverpool players are all like, most of them are like
back for the halfway line, get ready for the restart.
Talk about a formality. Like, did anybody think he wasn't going to score?
Nerves of steel, wasn't it? It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
It was just I was watching it with the boys and Will and Robbie. I just said, there's no way this guy misses this. Just the focus, the concentration, the technique, the confidence. It was just brilliant. Wanted to watch him and then just wait for the goalkeeper to move that way and just firm into the corner. Brilliant.
On the penalty, no qualms from you? Was it?
Qualms, 100%. But I played the game 18 years and I don't know what's a penalty anymore. Any contact, they're going down. And these days, I think when there is contact, it has to be given. But
did you think it was a foul?
Well, I think me and you end up, it's one of the few subjects that we sort of argue on penalties, because maybe I'm a bit old school where, you know, I think about defending and there's always that little bit of contact. And I just think there's slight contact, no doubt about it, and he goes over.
Yeah, he does.
Contact does not put him over. So at some point, if we're going to get serious about this and we're going to stop these guys going over for the slightest touch, we need to really look at that and go, did that contact put him over? And the answer to that's unequivocally no. So is it a penalty then? Not for me. I don't think it really affected even his movement, his foot movement, the way he was trying to get to the ball. I think he felt a brush, a touch on his leg, and he fell down.
Right.
So I've got a problem with KJ. Modern era, we see penalties for it all the time. So, I'm not blaming the referee. I know everybody will say, "Oh, you idiot!" People he was touched, and I just don't. I don't think there was enough contact there to put him down.
Here's where I am, Wallace, and I've made peace with this a long time ago. So this is where I go, right? So players are cheats.
Yeah.
Okay? Players are cheats. One week they're cheating and it's going for them. The next week they're cheating and they're crying because the other team's cheating. So this is where I'm at, right? And it's not exactly the same, but I'm going to use it as an example because it's very similar and it's the same team. So Liverpool fans all complained in the Champions League game in the second half against Napoli when Jose Carrion comes across Andrew Robertson. Andrew Robertson goes to get the ball, misplays the ball, and places his foot in a position that Carrion can't get by. Yeah. So, okay, he decides carry on being the forward of the attacker, that that's my route and your foot's in the way. So I'm going to initiate contact and you're in my way and I'm going over. And the penalty, some people said, including Jurgen Klopp, was not a penalty in his mind. He said the players cheated, okay? Now, this is pretty similar, by the way. So then this time, okay, Albrighton is the offender for Leicester, puts his foot in a position where he does initiate contact. It's not that much of a foul, but he does make the foul.
Yeah.
Mane goes over. I'm not concerned about how hard they go over because for me, by that point, the verdict has already been decided. Referees talking to them enough, covering this game a long time, they're not basing, most of the time anyway, it's a tough sport, but they're not basing their verdict on how that player falls. The decision to be decided on the fouls should already be made in their mind, the contact.
Yeah.
Not how they go down, but yes, of course he goes down far too hard. But my point being is that players are trying to cheat all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually going to get worse. Your point is a good one, but I don't want to ask the referees to be judge and jury here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the referees are hard enough as it is. So if we're asking then the referees to go on what you're asking them to do, it's impossible, mate. It's impossible for them to be able to say, did that contact fully push him to go down? Because sometimes a foul can happen where the player doesn't even need to go down for that foul to happen.
So why don't we edge on the side of protecting the award and the penalties and defenders and defensive play? So if we've got doubt, if we feel like the striker initiated the contact or we feel like the contact wasn't enough to actually put the player to the ground, why don't we tweak the rule and give the referee a license to say that is not a penalty?
Right.
And then he's got VR. If he really does make a mistake, then VR might step in. But as we've seen in the Premier League, they're probably going to leave it. And then why don't we? Because at the moment, I'm scared, KJ, because I think we're going to have 1-2 penalties in every single game.
Yeah.
The speed of these guys, the quality of these guys, their ability to manipulate the ball, get their foot there just before a defender and entice that defender in. We're either going to have such passive defending in the boxes, to me it's going to be boring, or we're just going to have penalty after penalty as these sensational strikers just initiate contact, cheat as you call it, and I agree with you, cheat their way towards penalty kicks.
Yeah.
I want to see a penalty every game. I don't want to see 2 penalties in boxes every single game, and we're heading that way unless we amend the rule, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I think all the rules are going towards goals. All the rules are going towards the attacker. The other thing, by the way, quickly on this, did you see the Chowdhury challenge on Mo Salah 2 minutes prior to that?
Yes.
Where Salah broke away and Chowdhury just completely chopped.
Jurgen Klopp's furious, isn't he?
Furious with that. And I actually thought the same watching it. Because it's funny because we don't really watch it as football fans. We watch it as members of the media. Of course, we were emotionally attached to this game. But I was watching it. I think it was Andy Walker was doing commentary, the Scotsman.
Yeah,
and
I like Andy Walker.
Yeah, I like Andy too. Yeah. But he called it a cynical foul and took one for the team. and I understand what he means by it, but it could have been like that's the kind of thing, to Klopp's point, that you need to get out of the game as well. That's just as bad to me. That kind of stuff is just as bad as the conversation we're having, because these players, like Mo Salah, it's all about pace. And these guys are at the top of the game. And that's a foul that you were just basically just chopping this guy down. And I think
Dangerous.
Cynical's not even the right even word for it at that point, you know?
Yeah, dangerous and could cause serious harm to a player. There was actually one today, good mate of mine, just tomorrow in the Toronto FC game. But, you know, the forwards running, and I've done it many times, but you nudge the forward, you know, to put him off balance, but you actually nudge him off balance into an oncoming goalkeeper or defender. And
right.
That, to me, is something that we need to look at as well. It should be severe punishment. We all do it. It's just part of the game. But, you know, if Justin Morris sees that back, he probably goes, whoa, because he's nothing malicious in his mind to try and hurt the guy.
No.
But this Chowdhury one, the reason I bring that up is a similar sort of subject to me, KJ, where you know, he just really wants to stop the breakaway. I get it, and he's swiping him because he needs to make sure that he comes down. He doesn't want to miss him, but it could seriously damage the player. And to me, it's a red card. We need to start giving red card for these very reckless, dangerous, potentially serious injury challenges. Red cards. Get it out of the game. Get it going. If it's a pull-out shot, fair enough. But if you're swiping somebody's leg at that pace, really dangerous.
I completely agree with that. And that's where the refereeing tolerance has got to change, because that's where the game is going to in terms of that. We shouldn't be giving these guys free passes to go out there and just knock one out. And it's just because you just come on the field when you could seriously damage these kind of players and do some damage to their careers as well. Manchester City lose to Wolves in a remarkable away performance by Wolves, who could have won by more. They had a great game plan. They defended tremendously. They lost Roman Saiz early, which is natural. They came back from Besiktas on Thursday. They didn't land back to Birmingham Airport till 3 o'clock in the morning. They were doing warm-down exercises on the airplane. Wow. So it was difficult getting back for them. And then they went up and travelled up to Manchester on the Saturday. But in the first half, they had 3 glorious chances, 2 of them that fell to Raul Jimenez. Actually, some great observation by Robin van Persie on one of them when he was through on goal. And didn't quite. It was the one where Fernandinho went through the back of him. He didn't put the finish away, and Fernandinho kind of nudged him and he went down. I thought it was great analysis by Van Persie, who would know this. He said at that point you need to be thinking, I want the chance to score, not wait for the chance for this guy to stop me scoring. I thought that was really good. Really good observation from Van Persie. And I always like to analyse players in one-on-one situations. But Jimenez was able to be brilliant in the second half. He's moved past Otamendi, and a little bit about Otamendi in a minute, but I think we've got to give Wolves credit to set up that first goal. It was a counter-attacking masterclass by Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah, no, the normal quality we expect from the counter-attack of Wolves, it's one of their key strengths, isn't it? And it was Jimenez and Jota last year. Today it was Sunday, it was Jimenez and Traore, just dynamic, but Jimenez's ability to just take that ball forward, to have the vision to pick his head up. It's often him setting up the other guy, isn't it? He's brilliant at it. He really is. And the composure from Traore.
I don't know where that came
surprised. From. I was surprised.
Surprised, really?
Surprised. Same finish, slotted at the corner. We know he's got the pace, but normally when he gets there, we feel like he's going to be erratic. 2 brilliant finishes. And a top performance by Wolves. They were really good. They were the old Wolves. They're back to their best, aren't they? They had that blip at the start of the season where we went, okay, Europa League might be a big issue for Wolves. Could put them into a bit of a relegation battle. Don't think that's going to be the case, KJ. They've got too many good players, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. They have a mentality about them as well that the coach will just not allow them to drift away. He's brilliant, and he's a top class future top 4 manager for us. The thing about Manchester City is it's easy again for us to have that conversation, because I think it's just natural that, look, they're not going to win Premier League trophy with Nicolas Otamendi and Fernandinho playing as centre back. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. Okay, people think they can go on this massive long run. I was stunned when Aymeric Laporte got injured that Manchester City were overriding favourites with the bookmakers still at that point. Liverpool were 5-2. They're now 6-4 on. They are now the favourites to win the Premier League, and they should be, because until they lose a key player like a Salah or a Firmino or a Van Dijk for as long as they've lost, Laporte, then for me, this is Liverpool's title to win. My point being, it's easy to just focus on that. But today, they had other issues. Aguero wasn't even in the game. They didn't even get going at all. De Bruyne obviously missed it through injury. That's a big loss as well.
Huge.
So what were your overriding remarks and thoughts about Man City?
First one, De Bruyne is absolutely key right now. They've got to get him out there as many times as they can. If he's injured, that's a huge problem. I think David Silva, Bernardo Silva, even Sterling just missing a bit of a spark at the moment.
Yes.
And Aguero, there was one I noticed, KJ, where Gundogan was looking for Aguero to post up or give him a bit of an angle, and I don't know if Aguero he felt he was lazy or he was out of position, but he was giving him it. He was with his arm out. He was looking at Sergio Aguero, and you could see that there's a bit of conflict going on here between these guys. They know they're not at their best. They're off their game a little bit. They're not really gelling as a group. And I think that there's just a little something going on with that squad. And they're still brilliant. They're a fantastic team. They can go and win they're still going to win the Premier League, but they could go win the Champions League. They're so good. I just think that they're summing off. And in contrast, the team at the top they were not good at all against Leicester, in my opinion. But they're dominant. They find a way to get it done. They're tough. They're resilient. They're capable of sitting in and lower blocks and absorbing pressure and breaking quickly. I just think they're hungrier at this point. I really fancy them to win the title this year. I'll be shocked, actually, and I would never say this about a Man City side with so many games left, but I would be shocked if Liverpool don't win the title. Yeah,
it's there for me. I'm with you completely on that. Before we get to a little bit of rapid fire and finish off the show, we have to talk about Mauricio Pochettino and Spurs.
Yeah.
They went down to 3-0 to Brighton. Look, it's been an utterly miserable season for them so far. Even season, Mauricio Pochettino was, as usual, after the game saying that, I thought pretty accurately, again, in his points, basically saying that we've had a great 5.5 years or almost 6 seasons. This is our most difficult time now, and we've all got to dig in deep. He was actually relieved. He said it's a good time to have the international break. There's some people who believe that the time is up for them. There are some people that believe that Pochettino is the main man to blame. Others that have not been very happy with his body language / I don't know, little digs at the team and a little negativity in the press conference. I'm not sure that's down to translation or not, but there's obviously something going wrong. There's a lot of things going with the problem there at Spurs at the moment. Look, I know on the weekend, Lloris got injured after 2 minutes, and that was a really hard watch for anybody watching it, let alone to have a player to see their captain leave. And by all the reports there, he was in a lot of pain, screaming, and it's not an easy thing to play on after that. You can probably talk a lot more about that than I can when you've had that experience. But we'll get to Pochettino in a minute, but what have you noticed about the team that's made you be a little alarming in this? It's not just results anymore, it's performances as well.
Yeah, it's mentality, isn't it? They've got a good few guys that have checked out for me.
Right.
A good few guys that are in with selfish agendas. And I think it's the biggest curse for any team, squad, doesn't matter what level. When people start thinking about their own agenda and what's going to be best for them, then you start getting these factions, the split within the squad. And as a leader in that dressing room, taking maybe a Harry Kane or a Mauricio Pochettino, it's very difficult to stop that once it starts rolling along. You got 5, 6, 7, 8 guys with that mentality. Now I'm going to name names. Dele Alli has been right off. Obviously Eriksen's been off. Vertonghen, Alderweireld. I think they've got a big issue in the middle of the park. I like Harry Winks, but they're missing that steel, they're missing that grit, leadership in there. And Ndombele's been okay, but he's taking some time to gel in. Something's going on with Lucas Moura. He's barely played any minutes. He was fantastic last year. Son's off his game. Kane's off his game. And go on and on. So you start to look at what's going on. Now, you can blame the manager. We're speculating at this point. We don't know for sure, but it could be the manager's a leader of that dressing room. He needs to galvanise and refocus the players and motivate the players. I'm always wanting to say that. But I just think this squad went past its sell-by date as a group. I think because of the agendas of Eriksen wanting to move on to bigger, better things, in his opinion, with Real Madrid, I think Ali needs to leave Tottenham Hotspur. And that's maybe quite a controversial statement, but I would lose Ali, Dele Alli, I'd lose Jan Vertonghen, I'd lose Eriksen, and I'd start again. Now, let's just take 4 or 5 of the players. We're talking about £300 or £400 million.
Yeah.
So you bring in a lot of money. You ask one of the best managers in world football to go and rebuild, bring in some young players, make them better, just like he did with nearly every one of that group, if not every player within his squad, and start again. And realistically, that's what kind of club Spurs are. They had their window to win something. It came and passed, unfortunately. They were close. Now it's about saying, okay, make some money, get rid of these guys, let them go and see how difficult it can be at a Chelsea or a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. I'm going to start again. I'm going to buy some young players. And I would, if they get rid of Mauricio Pochettino, I think it's the craziest decision that any club's ever made. One of my favourite managers in the world. I still believe he's one of the best. I think the situation, he's been a bit of a scapegoat with the situation of how that squad's going. Back him, let him sell the players, let him start again.
I agree with that a lot. Now, look, it's amazing that people in this industry of, incredibly smart people with a lot of money involved. Let's forget about the sporting aspect for a second. Let's talk about the export that is the Premier League, the English Premier League, what he does for the international game and what it is as a business, and run the club like a business for 1 second. And every business has good terms and bad terms. Good 3 months, bad 3 months. But in this business, when things are going wrong, the default is always fire the manager. Fire the manager. We could talk about Manchester United for the next 45 minutes. We don't have time, but we will at some point about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We could do it. Fire the manager.
Yeah.
And people think that that's the right way to go, just because that's the natural thing. Okay, we're going to fire the manager. But what if you actually have one of the best managers in the game, and you actually don't know that the next manager is coming in is going to be any better? Because you don't. You think you do, but you don't. But you actually have an employee here who you actually know. You know his skill set. You know his relationships. You know him well enough that he loves the club and has been through the experiences and has publicly said it. So privately, he's certainly going to be saying it. He bleeds that club right now, what he's taken for the Champions League. He was crying after the press conference in Amsterdam not 6 months ago for that club, crying with joy and emotion for what that club means to him. So you've got this manager who's buying in. You got this manager who's a loyal soldier to your club and is doing what he can. Now, yes, is he failing? Of course he's failing. Could he be better? Yes. Could he publicly in his demeanor be better? Yes. Could he have better relationship with the players? Could he tactically work out things? Yes. All of that. Let him try and move forward. Now, if this has become a breakdown in communication and the players have lost and he's lost the players and it's just come to the end of a natural cycle, which we don't know, people need to, then maybe they need to have this words and it needs to be parted away. But the moment we read the headline, Mauricio Pochettino sacked from Tottenham, is the moment for me I'll just laugh.
Yeah.
Because he has brought them their second greatest era of all time to that wonderful football club of the early 60s when they got to a peak. But let's be honest, it's harder to get to that peak now than it was in the 60s, the teams that they're facing and they're going up against. He's taken them to a Champions League final. He's had an era with them where if he continues, he should be building a statue of this guy. The stadium. That's what he's brought to this club. So just because of all the failures that are going on right now, that he needs the benefit of the doubt. But it's this football thing where we just, okay, sack the manager and move forward. Yeah. You need to be careful what you wish for. Be careful. That's what I would say.
I'm with you. I agree with everything you said there, Kristian. I just think that it's driven by, an obsessive media. And I'm not going to sit here on a podcast forum and just came off Canadian television and blame journalists for everything. But it is our jobs to make sensational news of everything. And really, the news here is that the squad are past their sell-by date. Now, the point is with Daniel Levy or the Tottenham Hotspur board, do they think Mauricio Pochettino is the man to build again? Now, unequivocally, I say yes to that. And even if he has lost that dressing room, as most managers end up losing their job for, I would say get rid of the players then. Move the players on. They're the problem. They've become almost too big for their boots. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not lost Harry Kane. I'm pretty sure he's not lost Lloris. I'm pretty sure he's not lost Harry Winks, Son. So there is a key element to that squad that are still focused and determined to make Tottenham Hotspur the best that they can be. So I would sort of identify who the guys are, who the real core of that squad is, led by Mauricio Pochettino, and I would shed the rest, and I would start again with the business mindset of sell Eriksen for, I'm making up numbers, 80, 100 million, and bring in the younger, new Eriksen. It's going to take you a year, 18 months, 2 years to get to that, maybe anywhere near that level, for 20, 30 million, and try again. That to me is a model, a business model that works for Tottenham Hotspur. I
agree. And, instead of trying to chase down, fourth place every year, or trying to get, then just, if you might be prepared, you might have to have a
couple of years, maybe Europa League or just outside it.
Exactly.
That can be fine. If you've brought in 300 million, 200 million in revenue, and it helps with the business side, the stadium. I know people don't want to hear this, but this is the facts. This is the realities. They had their window, they had their chance. It's been and gone. Start again.
I do think, quickly before we move on, the number one problem with the players is the Danish midfielder. And I think his performances has been almost nothing short of a disgrace, to be frank. Yeah. Every time he's on the field, he hasn't been anywhere near the player that he has been the last 2 years. In fact, I would go back as far as to say 3 years ago, when Tottenham really needed that player, and I used to look at them, how do you get to be that top player, that top team that you got to 86 points the year before they got to 86 points? I thought he was the player they needed to replace.
Yeah.
At that point, Eriksen's okay, he needs to be replaced. And they didn't replace him, and they didn't need to, because he showed us what I didn't think he had in him. He showed us a level of play for 3 years that he went, okay, I'm like, wow, okay, this guy's world class. This is a guy that could go to another level. And now he's back. He's back to where he was 3 years ago, and we all know why he's playing that way. And it's, look, you might leave, you might get nothing for him because he's a free agent at the end of the season. You might, at this point, looks no money at all. I did think at one point the resolution would be to sign him to a new deal and then just keep him happy, give him a bunch of money, and then get that money back when you sell him in the transfer summer. But that looks like that ship might have even sailed as well. Talking about being in the mire, Manchester United lose against Newcastle.
Yeah,
we've only got like 3 or 4 minutes here, but we'll get into that in a minute in the next future shows. But this isn't even rock bottom for them. I don't understand what all this furore is about sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is another point I'm making. This is what is sacking him going to do? Ultimately, this was a decision made by the club going forward that when you're going to boot out Alexis Sanchez and pay him £175,000 per week to play for Inter Milan, which you're still doing, and boot off Romelu Lukaku for 70 million and not replace him, and I know Newcastle are dire, by the way, they're poor, but we shouldn't be surprised if they lose any game, any week.
No, we shouldn't. They're just not up to standard, are they? And they're blooding in these young lads. I don't know if the majority of them are ready. They're playing guys who really, we've said it many times in the past, don't really are not befitting of the Manchester United shirt of yesteryear. And that's no disrespect to quality players. It takes a lot to wear that strip and to wear it properly, like a Cantona or a Beckham or a Gary Neville or a Roy Keane or could go on and on, George Best. These guys are not up to that standard of player that we've come to expect from Manchester United. And so you've got Ole trying to make it work and trying to keep everybody happy and a little bit of harmony there. But at the end of the day, it's about the quality that you have on the pitch. The only thing that I will say, and this is where I differ between the argument to keep Pochettino and the argument to keep Solskjaer, is that I personally don't believe that Solskjaer's the man to build a team.
I agree.
So time goes by, a year goes by, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and Ole gets to stay there and things maybe get a little bit better, and Ole's a great guy and Ole's obviously going to help people with the identity of Manchester United. But at some point you go, let's get somebody serious in and let's start building.
No doubt.
And so if that's the decision you're going to make, when do you do that? To me, it's probably the end of the season. I think Ollie's going to get this year to blood in some youngsters, but to me, at the end of the season, you target some excellent young manager. Maybe it's the man at Tottenham Hotspur.
Maybe it is.
We keep going back to him, but you get somebody and you say, okay, here's the keys. Go build. Take 5 years. Go build.
No question. Look, right now he's a babysitter, isn't he? Yeah. And he's not complaining at the end of the games about his players not playing well. And if he does, he says it in his nice, jovial, positive manner, and because everyone knows he's a good guy. Yeah. He's not going to destroy these players. And by the way, he shouldn't be destroying. He shouldn't be destroying Axel Tuanzebe and Daniel James and these guys. They're doing the best. Yeah. You know what I mean? And your hope is that some of them will improve. Some of them will not. Some of them will not. And some of them, of course, are nowhere near good enough to play for Manchester United. There's players right now, by the way, I know quite a few of these players, by the way. You go through any team in the Premier League in the bottom half, they've got players who are better than Man United. Yeah. Considerably. And just like West Ham, everyone was amazed. Oh, West Ham beat Man United, played them off the park. No, they've got better players than United. Yeah. They just do. Yeah. They might not finish it above them, but they've got better players. All right, rapid fire around the Premier League before we wrap up. Just a couple of minutes. Norwich 1, Aston Villa 5.
Oh, you're delighted. Why are we coming to this so late in the podcast? This should be the first one.
It's been a pretty good weekend for me, mate. I don't know if you heard, but my Braves came back and won Game 3 today.
Did they? I was going to ask you that. Seen that there.
My goodness. Was it good? Mate, I was FaceTiming my son so he could show me the game. Only losing 1-0 with 26 outs, 2 outs in the bottom of in the top of the ninth. We scored 3 runs.
Unbelievable.
2-1 up, first playoff lead since 2002. And yes, Dansby Swanson, I love you. But Villa 5-1. I will say quickly about this game. Villa have found a magic to get the better out of Jack Grealish. And Jack Grealish has been playing previous to this in a 4-3-3 in a midfield 3. And the last 2 games, they pushed him higher up. And I think that gets the better out of him. He doesn't touch the ball as much, but he doesn't feel the need to take over the game as much. He doesn't dribble as much. He doesn't feel the need to carry the ball. He's picking it up in advanced areas where he can make one quick pass or one touch pass to make a difference. And that's his best position. He's not a natural winger, but he's in that higher position for me. You've got McGinn already, who's a marvellous player. Talking about players who can play for Man United in a midfield, who does everything in that midfield already. Nakamba's been brilliant as well. So a terrific win by Villa, although Norwich are really, really poor. And I know they've got a lot of injuries, but defensively, it's going to really cost them. I don't know if you want to say anything about that quickly. Burnley 1, Everton 0. Another set-piece goal. Jeff Hendrick volleyed it in the back post. They actually tried this set-piece in the first half. Pickford had saved from it, and they went and did it again. Everton is just dismal at the moment from set-pieces. 22 goals since the start of last season from set-pieces in those games. Watford 0, Sheffield United 0. The Blades 4 games unbeaten away from home. That's a big point for them. West Ham 1, Crystal Palace 2. Palace get a penalty. Milivojevic was suspended. He didn't take it, Van Arnold did and scored, and then got a goal late on where VAR did work again in a game, a narrow goal that was given offside for Jordan Ayew, and in the end it was onside, and Palace win that game 2-1. Those were the fixtures on Saturday. Any thoughts on any of those, my friend?
Delighted for Villa. Didn't see that one coming. I thought actually Norwich were going to turn Villa over, but top performance. Big Wesley looks like he's getting going as well up top. The big number 9. Everton are in some sort of trouble, aren't they? We've got a good friend Anthony here in Toronto, who's a Scouser, and
steaming, isn't
he? Mate, I'm worried about him. Like I'm getting these Instagram texts from him. Big long
I can imagine
essays on Marco Silva, and he's taking it to heart. And I've always been a big fan of Marco Silva's. I've been talking him down a number of times. He wants him sacked. He wants him hung, drawn and quartered. I'm like, relax, he's good. He's going to be the guy. I might have got that one wrong, because I'm actually starting to worry now, and I think he's under serious pressure, because once that crowd turn on you, there's not really any way back. And if it's not turned already, it's turning, isn't it?
It is turning, no doubt about it. Arsenal beat Bournemouth by 1-0. Early goal from David Luiz on the corner. Man City, as we mentioned, got beat 2-0. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 0. That was a bit of a shock, but Longstaff with the goal. And as I saw an excellent tweet, I think it was from Optus Duncan Alexander, Longstaff 1, need a new staff 0. Which is a remarkable joke.
A quick comment on Matty Longstaff being
yes,
brothers.
Two brothers, first time.
Brilliant. First Forgot the start.
First brother since the Nevilles, I think.
No, I was thinking the Newcastle brothers. Oh, the Amiobis, that was it.
There you go.
I heard them say it today, but delighted for him because, he's been these brothers' shadow and he's outstanding. I thought he was brilliant today. He had a volley that sort of grazed the crossbar and then his goal was terrific, and credit to him. And there's nothing better than watching a local lad scoring a black and white at the Gallagher end. Their faces, I could cry. I could think about his face running away. He's kissing the badge.
Amazing.
A Scottish idiot once kissed the badge at St James's Park. But when you see a local lad do it and the passion in their face, he was tears in his eyes. What a moment. That's what it means to play for Newcastle. If you don't understand that, take the shirt off and go play somewhere else, because we need players like that. Newcastle need players completely committed. It's going to be a slog. They're the kind of lads that should be playing week in, week out right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Hopefully, Michael Owen, you're listening to that as well. Finally, Southampton 1, Chelsea 4. A dominant display again by Frank's lads. And you know what? Mason Mount reminds me of Frank Lampard.
He's a good player, eh?
Reminds me of him.
Yeah.
He arrives in the box a little bit, and he's got that ability to just come out of nowhere and finish the ball. And the way he strikes the ball as well, it's a big look. It's big shoes to fill. He's got a long, long career to come ahead of him, but he looks like the real deal, mate.
Yeah, he does, and he's getting more and more confident every week. Frank looks like he completely trusts him as well. He's given him a real central role within the team, integral role, and it's exciting. And I'm really enjoying watching Chelsea, KJ. I was sceptical of Frank coming in. I thought I needed somebody bigger and more experienced. Well, that exuberance, enthusiasm, and understanding of the club, I think, is really working for them. Tougher times ahead when results are more of a must, but I like what I'm seeing so far.
Me too. Okay, pal, that's it for this week. It's almost midnight. We've only been working a few hours. But we got it all squeezed in, and we really appreciate you guys listening to us. We really, truly do. Hopefully you've made it this far. Please send us a note on the comments. Give us your feedback, and also rate us on iTunes as well. Please let everybody know. Subscribe there. This will be the forum going forward. We hope to be joining you every week as we analyze all these things. Mate, it's been a pleasure again to be back.
Been a pleasure. Enjoyed it. It passed so quickly.
It really does. We could talk on and on and on, but we don't want to bore you anymore. This is probably just about long enough for you to get on your commute home or to work. So thanks to Mitchell, who's helped put this together. Thanks to Kevin. Thanks to Bradley Orr as well.
Yes.
The stories.
Big Ori. Ori Magori, as I used to call him.
A little bit of a thanks to David Bentley and Roman Pavlyuchenko as well for the role that you played on the show. Until next week, thanks for listening. This has been KJ Caldwell.